All right, guys, welcome back to Working Out the Kinks, the podcast. So I am here with Ashlee, and she's going to give us a little introduction. So take it away.
Oh, well, thank you for having me. Like she said, my name is Ashlee J. Johnson. I am the creator of the Birth Class in a Box. I've been a childbirth educator, since 2015. Got trained as a childbirth educator and a doula, and then decided very quickly that childbirth education was my lane and I was going to let the other people do the doula work. I was like, oh yeah, this takes a certain type of person and I am not her. So I have 3 kids. They were all natural births, out of hospital births. 2 of them were water births. Exclusively breastfed all of them, the first 2 until they were 3.5. And my last one, she's still nursing. She'll be 1 next week.
Oh.
So it's a circus in my house. But yeah, just out here trying to tell people the beautiful side of birth, while also trying to find and hold on to the beautiful side of motherhood.
Which I think I appreciate, because a lot of times you see a lot of things about birth and it always just seems so scary. Like, this is going to hurt. This is this. And it's just like, there has to be some good to giving birth to a child. And it seems like that's always missed in like the conversations.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I feel like that's my part of my lane in the work, is to show that beautiful side, right? Because when I got pregnant, I had heard all of these like really, really horror stories. They were very traumatic. And every time I talked to somebody, they'd be like, oh, what hospital are you going to? And I'd be like, oh no, I'm doing it at the birth center. And they'd be like, oh my gosh, girl, you gonna need that. Like, it was just, all that unsolicited information that people give you when you're pregnant. But it made it really scary. And then I took birth classes, started learning about the process, and was like, oh wow, this is actually really cool and like really interesting and amazing. And then I gave birth and was like, this was nothing like they said. This was nothing like that. This was amazing. I want to do this again. Right? Like, I was moments out of having a baby and I was like, I would do this again. I would. This was cool. Which is, kind of unheard of.
Right. These are the stories we don't hear, like at all. So you kind of briefly talked about it, but can you go a little bit more in detail how you actually became like a childbirth educator? Like, what is that? How is that a thing?
Yeah. So when I was pregnant, I took Bradley classes, and it was 12 weeks of 90-minute classes, me and my husband, just learning about.
So this is the Bradley method, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. It's through what they call the Academy for Husband Coach Childbirth, something like that. So it's super old school and super white. But
let's be real. All right.
Just straight to the punch. But it gave the information that I needed, that I know that I would have not gotten as in depth with any of the other kind of mainstream childbirth classes or hospital classes, right? Like, we watched videos, we did, different activities. There were other couples in the class as well that we got to kind of like draw from their experiences and stuff. We learned about nutrition. Like, it was absolutely amazing. So when I had this amazing birth, unlike I had ever heard, I was like, I need more people to know about this. I need more people to know that this is possible. And so that's what made me get trained with them originally. And then I started, working as a childbirth educator, which pretty much is teaching folks what is birth, what does it look like, what is happening, what are contractions, like, why are they a thing, what's happening during pregnancy, why can't moms, why do they get shortness of breath towards the end, why does the baby drop, what are all those things, right? So I started teaching those classes, but the people that were coming to me were not the Black women, the Black couples that I wanted to connect with.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, because I noticed that a lot.
I mean, what Black couple has 12 weeks to put into childbirth classes? Most of them are working.
Right.
Many of them already have kids, right? And then you're pregnant, so you're trying to prepare for this child. So that might mean working more to save up more money.
Right.
Right. So it's just like, and then if you don't already have an understanding of the benefit of a birth class, you're not about to spend 12 weeks doing it.
And all this money.
And all this money, right? Because my classes were on the low end and I was still charging $250.
Right.
Right. And so,
and to be fair, that's very low compared to like things I've seen. Like
people out here charging $500.
That's a deal. That's a deal.
Right. And that's not to say that it's not worth that, because it absolutely is worth the money. But when you're thinking about, I got all this other stuff to pay for, and again, you don't know the benefit of these classes, you're like, that's too expensive. I can't afford that. Right. And so I was like, I need to do something different that's going to appeal to my sisters. And I went to Bradley at first and I was like, hey, can we create something else, do something a little different that will address this particular community? And they were like, no, they need this. Like they'll get it. And I was like, okay, bye. So
definitely like a get in where you fit in type of deal.
Basically, like it was really, it wasn't I don't think it was from a place of like, either they get it or they don't. I think it was really a place of like, they just didn't understand the ramifications of like being a Black person, especially a pregnant Black woman in America, and like not having time for 12 weeks of classes. They just didn't get it.
Right.
I'm like, okay, cool. That's fine. I'm out of here. I'm going to do my own thing. And so that's what I did. I did live classes for a little bit. I worked with a nonprofit who they were doing educational baby showers, which is a dope idea.
That
right?
is so cool.
So cool. They were just using the baby shower games and made them educational, made them about safe, baby care and about pregnancy, how to have a healthy pregnancy. And the part that I loved about it the most is that it was educating the entire family unit. So everybody was on the same page and everybody could give like some really beautiful type of support, like not just, girl, go and get that baby a bottle, or, you need to stop breastfeeding. It hurts, just give it up. But like everybody's understanding, like, no, breastfeeding is important. Like this is actually going to be very beneficial and helpful. Like, come on, girl, let's figure out how to do this, right? Give real like good support.
No, I love that.
This is a great idea.
It's a great concept.
So I was doing that with this nonprofit, and then they decided to go in a different direction. And they were like, we want you to keep doing it. We know that you love it. You're really good at it. We want you to keep going. But I'm a for-profit business.
Right.
And people were like, why would I do an education? Why would I pay for an educational baby shower? I'm confused. What does that mean? Right. So I'm like, And so I tried to like finagle it a little bit and turn it into a baby shower kit. And that didn't work either. I tried it for 2 years, didn't sell nothing, right? People were just like, we go to baby shower and have fun and look at little baby booties. Like, anybody trying to learn, right?
Yeah, we want to have fun. We want to play the diaper game.
Like, what? Like, it made sense in a nonprofit model because the people don't have to pay for it. It's just like, it's a mission of the nonprofit to come in and they get grants to do it, right? That's how they're getting paid and they're able to afford it. For a for-profit business, it didn't make sense. And so I worked with a coach and we came up with the concept of the birth class in a box. And it instantly makes sense. You know what it is when you hear it. It's like, oh, that's super cool, right? And so that's how I kind of transitioned into what I am doing now. And I've positioned the box to be really used for birth workers, for doulas to use it with their clients in prenatal visits, to tell their clients to go get it. Or for them to use it as a guide to create their own birth classes.
Right. Which I love. I think it's such a neat little idea. Like I saw it on Instagram. I was like, what is this? So like I immediately clicked and I just started scrolling through your videos and your reels. And I'm just like, this girl is amazing. What is this? Like, why is this not a thing? But it makes sense, especially when it just comes to, everything you just said, that especially as Black women, especially as Black parents, you know, we're in a financial, what's the word I'm looking for? Discrepancy, I guess. You
Mm.
know, no one has time to just take like 3 months out of their life to kind of sit down once a week and do a whole bunch of classes. So I think that is amazing that you actually made a, and then you also made it fun by doing different activities. It's not just like, here's a book, flip through the book and learn, because no one, you're not going to really pay attention.
Yeah, there's a gazillion pregnancy and birth books on the market, right? Like,
Yeah.
there's a lot of them. You can get that information. But when you are also trying to figure out how I'm going to rearrange my house, how I'm going to get this money so that I can pay for this kid, you know, and you're thinking about like, am I going to breastfeed or not? How I'm going to do this baby shower? Like, it's a lot, right? It's a lot to think about. And if you have any, like, not even issues, but just things going on during pregnancy, or, you know, you're in pain or you're tired, it's just another added thing on. And so it kind of like, because people don't see the value in it, and it's not a norm for us to like prepare educationally for birth, it just kind of goes by the wayside. So this was my way of making it really convenient. I'm sending it straight to your house. You ain't got to go nowhere. You ain't got to make no appointment, nothing.
It's going to you.
It's coming straight to your door, right? It's game, so it's fun, and you can do it with your family members. You can do it with your partner, so you can be on the same page about stuff and just bring a little more fun into the process, right? And the booklet is easy reads, it's bullet points, it's graphs, it's charts, it's not paragraph after paragraph. So it's easy to go back and find the information. So yeah.
So I have a question for you. So I know you took childbirth classes with Bradley's, but I kind of wonder your personal opinion. Do you think that childbirth classes ran independently or different from the childbirth classes given in hospitals?
Absolutely. Day and night. It's day and night. A hospital birth class is going to teach you how to be a good patient.
Yes.
They're going to prepare you to be a patient and to do what they say and to not argue with them.
Right.
Right. A independent birth class is more likely to teach you about the process of birth. What is it? What's happening? What to expect? They're going to teach you about what might be offered to you at a hospital. They're going to teach you about your options. You can do it at a hospital. You can do it at home. You can do it at a birth center, right? They're going to kind of tell you more about your options and tell you what you can choose and help you make an informed decision versus just teach you how to do a patient and to be quiet and lay in that bed.
Right. And the reason why I asked that, because I've definitely had some like potential clients that I've talked to, and I've asked them like, oh, do you plan on taking childbirth classes? Because I work with an independent system where this woman runs she runs like a business, and we all work under her as independent contractors. We're all doulas, and you know, she offers all these different things, whether it's like postpartum birth, she offers like, you know, placenta encapsulation, all these wonderful good things. And then she also offers like childbirth classes. So of course, you know, since a lot of them are already childbirth educators, we're like, hey, do you also want these classes, since we do offer them with like the packages? And a lot of them are just like, oh no, you know, we're just gonna go with the hospital because the hospital offered it to us. And it's just like, yeah, because it's just like, you kind of just want to go, okay, this is the difference. And you can say that, but sometimes people just go, oh, but you know, this is already with the doctor and like the nurses who are going to be there. And just like, I just want you to know you're not getting the best deal.
Yeah.
Like, you know, they're just kind of teaching you like, almost like do as I say, and everyone's going to be fine.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's not.
I think my approach when somebody comes to me and says that, my question to them, well, what is your goal? Right? Because when you think about college, you pick a college based on what your goal is. So if you want to be a doctor, you're going to go to a school that produces doctors. You're not going to go to a school that produces just artists. It doesn't make sense.
Right.
So if your goal is to have a good experience, is to have a safe birth, is to have something different than what folks are talking about, like what folks are normally experiencing, what's so common, right? Then you should do something different.
Right.
Right? Like if you want the results that the hospital produces on a normal basis, right? 30% chance of a C-section and whatever else, then okay, go with that. But if you don't, then you should probably do something else.
Right. Well, damn, that just sold me. Oh, so since you mentioned home birth, do you believe women birthing at home is helping with the maternity mortality crisis?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And let me be clear and
PC.
let me be very clear, right? Because whenever you say things very generally, especially on social media, somebody is always going to go to the extreme, right? Or pick out the one small exception. So like I posted the other day comparing the prices, the average prices between a home birth.
I shared that one.
Did you see that?
I did.
So the home birth, the hospital birth, and the birth center births. And someone commented and said, are we just going to ignore the higher rates of neonatal death, right, when it comes to home birth? And so I was like, I had never actually heard that before. So I was like, tell me more. I'm curious, right? Because I want to know the facts. If I'm wrong, and I'm going to admit that, right? Because my goal at the end of the day is to help people make informed decisions and to be safe, right? So she sent me a article, a research article, and I looked into it, and lo and behold, that's what it was saying. And my question was, but why? What are the factors around that? So I dug a little deeper, and one of the references in that article was saying how, one, this article was based around all home births, not low risk births that are taking place at home, but all births. So folks who just aren't making it to the hospital, right? Unattended births as well. Folks that are high risk and have prior conditions that need to be at a hospital, would definitely be safer at a hospital, but they're doing it at home for whatever reason, right? So all of that was included in that statistic, right? And then the information I was going deeper was saying that not all home births are low risk, which is an issue. There's a safety factor there. But when it comes to low risk pregnancies and births, absolutely having those at home would change the statistics, right? Because one, you can avoid racism that's embedded in the culture of the medical system, which is one of the reason why
we have the issue that we
at higher rates,
not listening to us when they're saying something's wrong, and you swear to God, you know my body better than I know my body.
You knew me for 5 minutes,
right?
And I didn't have this body for 25, 30 years. Really? Anyway. So yes, it is safer. It's producing safer results for moms and for children. And the experience is totally different, right? Like it's just a totally different experience. And many Black people have already a fear of hospitals and doctors, and that plays a role in the birth experience, right? Like if you go into a place where you already are like afraid and you're taking that into birth, that's going to affect how your body performs.
Right, your body kind of like tightens up, your anxiety is all over the place. That kind of messes up with everything in your brain. So everything's you're already here. You're already like fighting. Absolutely. So you're not allowing yourself to relax, which actually would help the birth process. So all that, plays a part in everything. And I think, we are, so, I think, even when you go back to like the Tuskegee experiments, and from then on, as Black people, we are afraid. So I definitely understand that.
And I'm in Baltimore, right? I'm surrounded by research hospitals, right? Johns Hopkins, the main one that be doing experiments on Black people left and right, and people in general, but definitely Black people. The whole story of Henrietta Lacks.
I was just thinking about her.
That's attached to Johns Hopkins University, or Johns Hopkins Hospital, which is not just here in Baltimore. They're all over the place. And there's issues with them all over the place, right? But yet we still go to these places and expect them to have our best interests at heart, right? And we expect the individual people and be like, oh, they're, everybody's not bad. Everybody's not out to get me. You're right. But they're teaching the way that they have been just indoctrinated has an effect on the results.
Yeah, and I agree. I mean, even let's take it back further. Like one of the books I had to read in my courses was Medical Bondage. One of the hardest books I ever had to read. And, when you think about, how gynecology came to be, when you are experimenting on Black women, these biases started back then.
Yes.
And these are the same things that people are using now to get their training. So of course you're going to be biased when it comes to people of color because this is what you're taught.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I don't know about any other country, but what I do know for this country is that everything takes forever to move forward, right? Like you could have had a gazillion research papers and mountains of evidence to support one particular way of doing things that would change and save lives and just, it could make the world better.
Yes.
And it'll take us 50 years to just admit that they were right. Like, it's just like, oh, right? Like, for instance, right now it's a big thing where the American Association of Pediatrics is saying we suggest folks breastfeed for at least 2 years.
Yeah, I just saw that article.
And people are up in ante about it, like, oh my gosh, that's so much pressure, but mostly white women. But anyway, and I'm looking at them like, but the World Health Organization been saying this for like decades though.
And not just, I mean, yes, but also when you think about it, like in Haitian culture, I know that, they do that, like they breastfeed for 2 years, and like if they can continue to produce, I think, now don't quote me on this, but I think also like in different African countries as well, it's the same. So it's just like, why are we always so like behind? Like,
it's ridiculous.
And I kind of figure the reason why is, at least when it comes to people in these different countries, is because they have already lived in that culture. Yeah. And it's something that's passed down mom to mom, aunt to niece, that's all passed down. And we don't have those traditions. Yeah. So that's why we don't know. It's
very interesting. It's just, I mean, we can think about Juneteenth in the same way, right? Slavery was ended. It wasn't 2 years later until everybody knew about it, right? And that, the slave masters was actually like, all right, they said it. Okay. Like that's literally how our country works. Like there's such a huge like lack, right? And I get it, lots of procedures and things and having to be retaught and all this stuff. But why don't we have a culture that is created around innovation and being ready to switch and pivot when necessary? Like,
I don't know, but I think it goes back to what it's because I think as a culture, we have to unlearn. Yeah. I think that's what it is. And right now, I think we're in a place where we're starting to see that happen. Oh yeah. And I think that's another reason why I thought this was the right time to start doing this podcast, because people are now willing to learn things that wasn't just given to us, because now we're starting to question everything. Like, why does this happen? Why is this going on? And, you have to do your research. And sometimes you just need to know, where do I pull from to get the correct research, So I think we're getting there. We just, it's little by little. Like, I can't speak for all people, but I think people of color, we're starting to be like, we're starting to open our eyes a little bit more, And
I think some of this stuff we knew, but we didn't have the capacity to push it forward. And I'm talking about Black people in particular, right? Like we're now at a place where we have a little more freedom, like, and in terms of like time freedom and financial freedom, right? We have a little more space, right? To be able to take a step back and to look more into stuff. Like there's many of people many of Black folks that knew some of this stuff, but just didn't have the the energy, the time, and the grit to be like, let me look into this a little bit deeper, right? Whereas now it's like, no, something's not right here, right? Like
but you know what I think that comes from? I think that truly comes from like the generational thing, after slavery, you have to like either you still worked in the field, but you got paid very, very little, or the Great Migration, or and you have to like work really, really hard. In like the last, over 100 and let's say 50 years, and you do some math or whatever, and it's just like working, 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 working hard. I think about my grandparents, and it was just working, working, working. Like my grandmother was like a maid. My grandfather wasn't orderly, so it was just like, and they continued to work pretty much all their lives, right? And like my parents, now they're to the part where they they work really, really hard, but they also had time to actually sit down now because they had the reprieve because the parents before them worked so hard, and now we're in a space now in our generation that since the people before us worked so hard, we can sit down and we can breathe.
Yes, absolutely. And we also live, I think our generation is at a place where we're like, we're gonna work smarter, not harder. Our ancestors did enough work for all of us.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
I am actually taking my childbirth education courses in September. Yay me. Could you give me just some advice on what to look forward to, what I should probably spend more time thinking about as I start this new part of my journey? Have I stumped you?
I love that you're getting into childbirth education, because I think that childbirth education can really be just as impactful as we're saying that doulas are, right? If not a little bit more, because now it's not just one person holding the information and using that to help people, but now you're educating the person that's going through it, and that's going to share their experience with other people, right? So I think the main thing to really take away is how to find new information, how to, like you were saying, fact check information, how to read these research articles, how to ask more questions to really get to the grit, to not take everything at the surface, right? Because if I would have taken that research article that woman shared with me about neonatal deaths and home births just at the surface, like, oh my gosh, they're more dangerous, and I start pushing this message that we shouldn't be birthing at home, y'all, because our babies are dying, then I would be steering people in the wrong direction, right? But definitely paying attention as to how to go deeper, how to really get to the grit of the information, and to question stuff. Like, there's some things that I'm just like, well, how do we know that? Right? Like, how, I don't know, when I look at when they talk about even like gestation and how the egg and sperm and all that stuff, I'm like, how do we figure that out? How do we know that stuff? Right? Like, I'm not questioning to the point that I don't believe it, but I just want to know, like, how did y'all figure that out?
It pays to be a little inquisitive.
Yeah, it really does.
Yeah,
it really does. It really kind of gets to the grit of it. So yeah, I would say that. And I always encourage folks, especially people who are trying to find their way in birth work, to try it out first before they spend a whole bunch of money and time doing it, right? Because had I just done a doula certification and then did it and realized, like, this is not for me, I would have been really upset.
It does cost.
I would have been really upset. And I think that's part of the reason why there's so much burnout in birth work, is because there's this push to, like, there's this huge need. So everybody is trying to get all of these certifications. They're spending all this money before they're making money, spending all this time before they're making impact. And then they realize, like, dang, I don't even want to do that, or I don't like that, or that doesn't actually resonate with me, or my people don't need that, right? The people that I'm working with don't actually need that. And so I would suggest kind of getting your feet wet a little bit, whether that's shadowing somebody who's doing birth doing childbirth education classes, right? Using something like a birth class in a box to guide people through some information and see if you like that, see if you like how that feels, and then do the certification when it's necessary.
Right. And
Yeah.
that's what I'm kind of hoping, because like I actually have one client who is actually due next week. So yay her. She's been amazing, and she is so ready. And I feel so proud just to be like with her in her journey, just because she's been amazing. But I always feel like I want to make sure that I can do more and I can give her more. And I feel like that with anybody that I'm going to deal with, like, I want to make sure that you know exactly what you're getting yourself into, because I feel like a lot of times women just feel so scared because there's a lack of knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, and once you educate yourself on
Yeah.
what your body is going through, you kind of feel a little bit better about what you're doing. And like,
Yeah.
and I seen that change in her, like she knows. But
Yeah.
I want to make sure that moving forward that I can, like, I feel, yes, I've helped her, but she's done so much research on her own.
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody think like that. And
Yeah.
so I think that's another reason why I want to take these courses, because I want to make sure that who I'm dealing with, they're prepared. But at the
Yeah.
same time, as we mentioned before, as Black people, we don't have 3 months to just sit in a class. So I want to make sure that, hey, you can get all of this from one, hopefully from me, that
Yeah.
I'm prepared to do that for my clients.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And create a resource list too, because you have some people who people learn differently, right?
Right.
So some people, they love a one-on-one session where they can ask questions, where you can just take them through. Some people love the lecture style, right? Where you have other people where they prefer to watch a bunch of videos, watch documentaries to get the information and go deeper from there. So being flexible in how folks want to get their information and having, different avenues for folks to do that could be helpful as well.
Yeah, like I definitely have like a prenatal postpartum resource list, but I'm working on kind of bulking it up a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still in that baby stage. So I'm kind of still trying to make sure I have all my, like, oh, you want someone with yoga, I got you. Oh, you need someone for massages and chiropractor who's like certified to work with pregnant women, I got you. So I'm working on it.
Absolutely. That is awesome.
But thank you so much for spending time with me and talking with me. And, can you also just go ahead and leave all your information so they know how to reach you?
Oh, absolutely. So on social media, Facebook and Instagram, it's Birth Class in a Box. My website is birthclassinabox.com. I also have free activity sheets, the free birth activity sheets that folks can get from there on my website, so they can get started learning and kind of enjoying the process of learning about birth and breastfeeding, and a little bit of postpartum stuff on there as well. But definitely my website and Instagram, I'm on both of those things. I can be reached there.
Thank you. I love that. Thank you so much. Thank you for spending time with me and talking to me. And like I said, I've been following you for like the last couple months now. So I just was like, she's so cool. Like you had one video, you had this one video when you were like on your laptop and your daughter was like sitting in your lap. I'm like, this woman is like, she's so cool. And she's just getting it done, but still being a mom. I was like, look at this. This is like, I adore you. I actually love watching your videos and your reels and the information that you leave. So like, this is such a great moment. So thank you. And I hope we can do this again.
Yes, I appreciate that so much. And I appreciate you inviting me to be a part of this. And please share with me when it goes live so I can share with my audience.
Oh, absolutely. I would definitely keep you posted. So guys, we're going to wrap it up, and thank you for joining us. And I hope you guys learned something, and I hope we can start a conversation about this, because we're learning and we're going to learn together. So good night and goodbye.
Bye-bye.